and thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Samin Mohammed, and I'm a senior planning analytics consultant at Octane's Office Solutions. In today's webinar, I'll be highlighting to you some of the common challenges and the key limitations of Excel, and then go ahead and demonstrate to you how IBM Planning Analytics can be useful in solving some of the complex business problems and how it can address and eliminate those issues using its out-of-the-box front-end applications, namely Planning Analytics for Excel, which is an Excel-based interface, which is also known as PAX by some, and Planning Analytics Workspace, which is a web-based interface, also known as POP, as an abbreviation for that. I will also demonstrate to you the seamless integration between the two interfaces that I've just mentioned about, to showcase to you how they can be used interchangeably and how they can interoperate between each other. Finally, I will conclude the session by taking a short question and answer session. So please feel free to put your questions in the chat box anytime during the session. So we'll try and address them immediately, but if not, then I will surely take it right at the end. So, but before I start off my webinar, I would like to probably start off by giving a bit of an introduction about our company, as I understand and appreciate that not many of us has heard about our organization, Octane Software Solutions. So I would rather take that opportunity and introduce our company before I go ahead with the demo. So what is Octane Software Solutions? So it is a trusted IBM Silver partner specializing in business intelligence and analytics. We offer advisory services to our clients on best practices in business intelligence and assist with scaling up the applications to optimize their investment. Our specialty really is in the experience and skills are in the deployment, consulting, support, and training and delivery of large-scale IBM Planning Analytics applications. So that's where our main focus area is. Then Octane has its head office in Sydney, and it also has branch offices in Canberra, Bangalore, Mumbai, and Gurgaon. We have 24-hour business intelligence and analytics support centers and have over 30 certified consultants in our organization. So that's a bit about Octane and what we do. Now coming to IBM Planning Analytics, I'll just walk you through a bit about this as well. So IBM Planning Analytics, powered by TM1, is the market leader in the corporate performance management space, which is also referred to as enterprise performance management. Our IBM's performance management organization has over 7,000 customers in over 100 countries, and we have a very strong and innovation and development focus in both on-premises and SaaS environments, including the hybrid environments. So we give a variety of options to the clients. The core product has been in the market for, say, over at least 20 years. IBM has owned the technology since 2007. So it's as you can see, it's relatively a very mature product. Now, coming to the topic, while I do acknowledge and appreciate that Excel still rules, and it continues to be an indispensable tool for finance users and line of business. However, based on our past experiences deploying IBM Planning Analytics across various customer sites, below are some of our key observations that I would like to highlight, which are most common pain points and the limitations of spreadsheets as we have seen. The first one is that it is the spreadsheets are error prone. In May 2018, there was a news wherein a large number of young doctors in the UK had their job offers withdrawn following an error in the administrative process. Now, you would want to think what that reason was. According to that news, a spreadsheet error was made in transferring the data from one system to another. So that was the reason because of which there were such huge repercussions. And this goes to show that while it appeared to be a very small human error on the face of it, the consequences were too great to be taken casually. So that's about the error prone. And then we have got the auditability. So errors, it also creeps in while the data is keyed in or numbers are cut and pasted from one cell to another. in Excel, and there is no way of really tracing the old value from the new and who made those changes. So you cannot really know who made the changes and at what point it was done. So the Excel really lacks that audit trail and inherently expects that the users to enter the correct data, which in the realistically world, it's not going to happen ever. Then you have the traceability as one of the issues with Excel. So one of the biggest conundrums of of Excel that we have seen is it being able to easily trace the cell value. So as the data can come from distinct sources, sometimes even other spreadsheets located in some other folder, it often becomes an exercise of trying to solve a mystery to figure out the calculation and arrive at the number. So it's not really that easy to trace the root data that's sitting behind that one particular figure. Then we have governance and control. As Excel mostly resides locally on the desktops of individual team members, it becomes harder to control and manage the changes as there is no single version of truth anymore. So version control issues will potentially lead to some confusion as well about where the numbers have actually come from, who is responsible for what exactly, and even which numbers are accurate. So it creates that kind of a dilemma when it comes to the numbers. And then we have got data integrity and the transparency. So a few of the questions, when we present the reports to the board are the questions like, how did you get to this number? One of the common questions that comes up. When the other could be, where did it actually come from? And the most common is, why is it different from mine? And that's not surprising because everyone has got their own sources of truth, and therefore it can change depending on what exactly is the driver behind that particular set of data. Now that is because the spreadsheets are normally not connected to a centralized system, and therefore it offers little or no data security. So it is only but natural to then start questioning the numbers, and consequently you kind of lack the confidence in the data, in the integrity of your own data. Then we have the data entry. In Excel, the data inputs can be entered only at the transactional level. What I mean with that is that there is no really provision in entering the data in Excel at the summary level and let the tool cascade that data down to the leaf levels, either proportionally or based on some drivers, such as spreading the overhead data based on your headcount. So there is no easy way of doing that. The lack of such flexibility in entering the data, it really makes the data entry a very tedious task, and it becomes more prone to errors. Then we have got the data scalability issues. So Excel obviously works best when you have limited set of data. But as the model matures, your company matures, the volume of the data increases exponentially, and it's understandably slow. And that's where the Excel starts behaving a bit erratically and face the performance and crashing issues, which we have seen a lot of times. So let's just put it straight up that Excel just isn't suited to handle the data at the enterprise level, and I'm sure everybody here agrees to that. So the other limitations of Excel, of course, is its lack of collaboration, application maintenance, the workflow, to name the few, and the list can go on, but we won't be really delving into it given the brevity of time. So this begs the question actually as to what the solution is then. Now this is where we will propose to you exploring IBM Planning Analytics Workspace and IBM Planning Analytics for Excel, which are the two primary front ends of the IBM Planning Analytics that actually offers you those advanced capabilities to overcome the issues of Excel, and that's what we will now be trying and touch basing in our demo. So let's start off my demo, and the focus of my demo will be on two main things, and those are the two key design intent of planning analytics, namely, number one, creating engaging experience for the users, and number two, it is to the ease of use, so how easy it is to use that particular application. So let's start off by looking at how you can create engaging experience for the users. So the way we have done that is by infusing planning analytics with latest visualization and other capabilities. So let me now bring up that IBM Planning Analytics workspace. All right, so where we are at right now is the IBM Planning Analytics workspace landing page. And it is built in HTML5 that actually works in pretty much all the major browsers and mobile devices like the iPad. So IBM Planning Analytics is a web-based interface for modeling, for even administering your model in environment, and as well as the report designing. So it's like a one-stop shop for doing your end-to-end modeling to the report building. In the middle, what you see here are the books. And these books are the front-end applications that allows the users to access the data within the platform. And you can also apply relevant security around it, so it can only be accessed by certain members of your team. So this is where you can control who gets the access to what. So what we will now be looking at in this is a CFO dashboard, okay, to start off. So for that, I'll be just opening this book called CFO. And as soon as I do that, here is where you will see that in this particular dashboard on the top is the KPIs that highlights how the business is actually performing. So you've got the gross revenue, cost of sales, marketing, and the net profit. So that gives a bigger picture of how your company is doing in terms of the performance. My demo will initially look like a BI demo to you, but rest assured, everything that I'm going to do now has got some read and write back capability to it. Now, what you have at the bottom is that we have got some mapping technology coming through that shows the gross revenue by region. All right. And on the right, we have got a line chart showing how the product is trending over the year for actual budget and forecast. So you can select different products or the product categories and then be able to see, the data that's behind it. My demo today will be more of a feature benefit. So I'm just gonna show you the features of the platform rather than taking you day of life of budgeting and forecasting. What I'm gonna do is perhaps, highlight the capabilities of the platform in this demo. So let me now quickly jump on to the overview tab. All right, so in this overview tab that you see here, we have a scorecard built in directly into the platform. So here we have a strategy map, right, that is built off a balanced scorecard framework of 4 different areas. So here you've got 4 different areas, but you can obviously add more depending on your requirements. At the top, what we have is a strategic initiative, and that's called reduce expenses. And if I click on that, you will see that these are the measures that we are tracking that makes up this particular strategic initiative. And you can track and compare how we are doing actual versus budget and how it is doing or how it is trending over the time as well. All right, so that's what we have in the strategy map. So these are all different strategic initiatives that you can set and then start tracking your performance. Then on the right, we have something called custom diagram. So that's basically, yeah, there you go. So you have got a custom diagram. This is where you have used a map to overlay all your KPIs on top of it. So it's not a shape or way. You can have any image in the background, say, for example, your manufacturing layout or even a store layout in the background, and overlay your KPIs on top of it. So that way you can customize it to your own requirements. And in the bottom, you will see we have got a historical chart. So that's what we call it a historical chart. And the users are not really fixed to a particular time frame. You can obviously, look this data at a day level and then back out to a week level, for example, and then even look at the data at the month level. So you can actually look at your data at different levels of your period dimension, for example. And if you notice in this historical chart in May 19, based on this historical chart, we notice that there is a bit of a downturn in May 2019. And if I click on this this bar, then you will see that all the additional information that really makes up that particular figure can be reflected in the different widgets that we have in here. So you can see that the downturn that you see is not really restricted in a particular region, but it is across the globe. So this gives you a very good idea of what are the different causes of the data that is either doing good or not doing so good by looking at the different widgets that corresponds to it. Now let's go and see an example of budgeting and forecasting application. So for that, I'm just going to go back to my original screen and open a book called Budgeting and Forecasting. All right. So in budgeting and forecasting, traditionally, it is all about 90% data entry and 10% analysis. So that's how much of time we spend for a typical budgeting and forecasting, where 90% of our time goes in, just consolidating data, bring the data from different sources, and only 10% goes into the analysis phase. So with IBM, what we are trying to do here is we are trying to flip it and make it 10% of the number crunching, and then 90% of it in the analysis, because that's where the crux and where the value really is. So the first screen that you see in here, it's all about the forecast and the metrics. So here you can see we are tracking actual with budget, and we are also looking at a summarized P&L. So we've got the variance, we've got the variance percentage, then we also have the status as to how that is doing, and then we've also got the trend analysis, where it shows how the trend is being over the time as well. And then at the bottom we have something called the cause and effect diagram. So in this particular diagram, you can see that the net profit is not doing particularly well. And if I expand the gross margin over here, then you would notice that the gross margin is made up of cost of sales and gross revenue. And I can see that the cost of sale is not doing that bad. However, the problem is with the gross revenue. So now, even before I start off my planning process, I know exactly where to focus my time on. So now let's jump on to the revenue tab and start updating our revenue plan. So for that, I'm just going to go to the revenue analysis tab. All right. So in this tab here, at the top, we have a new way of filtering the data, and what we call it as a slider bar. So the user can just move the slider across and view different regions, for example, and then or what they can also do is they can hit this play button. So it goes through different regions automatically, and so you can see which regions are selling what. So for this one, what we're gonna do is start updating our revenue or the volume units for Florida. All right, so to do that, I'm gonna create a sandbox. Now, what is sandbox? For those who don't know, in TM1, a sandbox is a personalized scenario or a workspace, as you can say it, where I can play around with the numbers and see the impact of my numbers on my what if scenarios, even before I commit it back to the system. So no one can actually see my changes until I'm happy with them. So it's like my own personal play area where I can do everything that I feel like without it being committed to the system where everyone else can see it. So that's what the sandbox is. In order to create a sandbox, I click at this small icon over here, and within this we have got an icon called sandbox. And if I click here, we have got an option to create a sandbox. So I'm just going to click on that, and I'm going to give the name as a Octane sandbox, for example, and then just create. So now that the sandbox is created, let's now start updating our numbers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what are the different ways in which we can now enter the data into the system. So for example, in October, say I want to increase my volume units that I'm going to manufacture to 10%. So these are my original numbers. Now I want to see what would be the impact be if I increase my volume by 10%. Now, what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna type in increase 10 over here, and you would notice that I'm actually sitting at total channel even before that. So this is where I'm sitting, total channel and total product. So it's got all different products and product categories, but I'm now trying to input the data at the consolidated level. So for that, I'm just gonna type in C10 and hit enter. So what the system does is it actually proportionally increases my underlying data by 10% at the top level, and it goes down right to the lowest level. So that's how easy it is to just start updating your numbers. The other thing that we can perhaps do is, say for example, for October, I know that I'm gonna manufacture 5,000 products, units of the product, right? So I can simply type in 5K over here at the top where my browser cell is, and then again it gets cascaded down to the lowest level. But before I even do that, I want to say, for example, for retail channel, I would want to retain the original numbers and only have that increase applied to the internet and distribution. So I can do that by right-clicking on retail and selecting hold. Now, what this hold actually does is, and you would have noticed that there is a small, icon that is now visible in here that actually indicates that there is a hold applied to a cell. Now, what this hold does is it actually holds any changes that is to be done for the retail channel and for all products. So if I now type in 5K into the cell, hit enter, you would notice that this old value still remains intact, and the underlying changes has now been cascaded down to internet and distribution. So this is where you can actually pick and choose at what level you want to do a data entry. So it's not none or all kind of a scenario. You can do it at any level that you want by using different capabilities within the platform. All right. Then say, for example, now I want to do something even more ambitious. So in March, for example, I know for distribution, I'm gonna produce 250 products, and that's gonna stay for the rest of the months. So 250 products from March, it's gonna stay constant until December. So what I can do is I can simply type in 250 and then use this arrow, the right arrow, to indicate the system to copy this 250 value across to all the intersections on my right. So once I do that and click enter, you would have noticed that the March value of 250 has now got copied across to all the remaining months up until December. So that's another quick way of updating your numbers and reducing your time for the data entry. Then finally, the other thing that I would want to show is, say for example, in the month of February, you decided that, all right, I'm gonna produce 1,000 units per day in February. So you can even use some Excel calculations like the multiplication in this case. So what I'm gonna do here is, based on my assumption, I know that February has got 28 days and I'm gonna produce 1,000 units per day. So I'm gonna multiply 28 by 1,000 and hit enter. And what it does is it has actually applied that calculation to all the products within my internet channel. And you would see that as I make these changes, all the underlying charts are getting impacted straight away. So once I've done that, I would want to back out my changes, because obviously it has screwed up my my charts, and also I can easily back out my changes by clicking at this button, which then reinstate my original numbers. So this is how you can easily update the numbers and see the changes as you go forward. So now what I'm going to do after this is to show you the other aspect, which is the ease of use. So initially we discussed there were two things that I'm going to focus. The one was the creating an engaging user experience for the users, and the other was the ease of use. Now coming to the ease of use, there are actually two aspects to it again. One is to see how easy it is to use the application, which we have touched upon a little bit just now, and see how easy it is to actually use the application. And secondly, how easy is it for the users to create and modify new books. So that's the next level that we are going to go to, and then see all right, I know how I can analyze and look at my data and get meaningful insights. But how about now? I want to take it to the next step where I want to now be able to create my own books and try building my own model. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly go back to the welcome page and open a book called Promotional Sales. All right. So what I'm going to do now is look at this book called Promotional Sales, and what we are going to show you is really how easy it is to create and modify and add new widgets to the books. But even before I start modifying it, I'll just give you a bit of an explanation of what it actually does. So in this Promotional Sales, the targeted marketing managers do what-if scenarios around promotional campaigns that they are running, and then the expected sales uplift based on that. So that's what this promotional sales book actually does. The other reason why I want to show you this particular application is to show you how you can customize it to your own needs by putting, say, for example, your own customer logos. You can put in some buttons that you want. You can put some background images, set the transparency, and so forth. So that's all that you can do, and that's what I wanted to demonstrate to you. So let's now have a look at the Promotional Sales tab. So if I just click at this Promotional Sales tab, it's going to take me to a new report. So now in this tab here, the sales and the marketing manager can actually run different promotional campaigns that they want. And then for each campaign, they can add some commentary to it by adding some narrative behind the campaign. So it gives a bit more information behind what the campaign is going to be. They can even select the product or even a product category that they want to run the campaign for. So in this case, these are the list of the products that they can pick and choose that they want to run the campaign for. Likewise, they can even pick and choose the start and the end date that they want to run their promotional campaign for. So, and in the sales uplift here, the user can adjust the sales uplift. So say we are going to reduce the marketing budget as we feel that the promotion is not going to be that extensive and it's only going to increase 30% of the sales. So what I can do here is I can type in 30, enter. So that way we have reduced the marketing budget for that particular promotional campaign. And on the right is where we are actually comparing the campaign effectiveness. So based on the inputs that we have provided, it now gives us a kind of a visualization that shows how our campaign is going to be effective. So the purple bar that you see in here is the sales, and the light blue is the expected sales uplift. So you can see we are not doing that well in July, but the rest of the months are pretty much okay, and and we think that we have achieved what we thought we would. So now I'm going to go and open the reporting tab to show you some of the other reporting capabilities. So the first one that you see here in the reporting tab is the maps visualization, which shows the sales by state. And on the right, we have got a heat map. The darker the color, the more products we have sold over the period of time. And then we have also got some radial bar charts. Across on the tab, on the top, I can filter on my regions. So I can cycle through my regions to see how well each of my regions is doing over the period of time as well. So now let's look at and see how we can extend this application by adding our own kind of visualization or our own graphical interpretation of our own data. To start modifying it, I need to, first thing that I need to do is click at this edit mode. So as soon as I do that, it's presented me with different tabs that I can, that already there, and I can add my own tab here. So I'm just gonna create my own. And once I click at this plus sign, now it has presented me with all different types of options that I can choose from. So here you can see that we have a free form, or we also have a fixed layout, which allows when we add a new widget to be automatically, that it automatically fits into this particular layout. So you don't have to worry about that. But for now, let's only focus on the free form in this particular demo. So I'm just going to choose free form and then do that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my sales data by, say, region and by month. All right. To do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the natural language search capability, which is built in that platform to build the reports. So to do that, I will simply type it here, pull me sales by month and region. As soon as I hit enter, what the system is going to do is it's going to scan the model and build the view for me that matches the description that I have just entered. So if you can see here, what it has done here is it has put the months on the rows and on the region on the columns, and gives me a series of different cubes, that matches that particular description. So for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to choose the first one that has come up, and I'm just going to select as this. And as soon as I do that, I can obviously, resize my widget as in how I like it. The other thing that I can do here is, so for example, here we've got the year broken down by quarter. I can say select all the first half months. So it's going to present me Jan to June. So this is a quick way of getting and seeing your data in this particular widget. So similarly, you can click and see what are the different regions or the countries that roll up to Europe. So I can just select at that, and that actually gives me the Europe and the breakdown of that. So that's how we can do that. Now, likewise, if I want to say flip the month with the region, I can easily do that by clicking at this icon here, and then there is an option called swap rows and columns. So this way you can easily swap the rows and the columns and able to see the data. Then the other thing that you can probably do is, say, for example, you want to create some calculation on top of what data you have. So you can do that. So for example, if I want to create a variance of May and June in my this particular widget, so I can select May and June and then right click, and then I'm presented with different options. I can select create a calculation, and here is where I'm presented with different calculations that I can create. So some of them are average, maximum, medium, minimum, and then there are all different arithmetic calculations that I can do. I can add, I can subtract May from June, add May from May to June, and so forth and so on. And there are other percentages that I can calculation that I can create as well. So likewise, what I can also do here is, if I just right click on May, I can sort my data in ascending or in descending order. I can create the top 10 products or bottom 10 products, for example, basis on the data that we have. And I can also create some conditional format basis on the conditions that you have. You can select, you can set different formatting to your data. So you can apply the formatting to the cell, to the font of that particular cell, and even the icons that we have that you can apply to the cell basis on the conditions that you have. Then what you can also alternatively do here is add some commentary to your text. So here, for example, you have this particular data, and you want to communicate that the reason why you have that particular data, or say you have a question that you want to get an answer for about this particular data for France. You can add a comment in here by right-clicking on that cell and then click at comments. Here you can add a comment and say, can you explain the reason for this number, whatever. So you can just put a commentary over here and you post it. As soon as you do that, what it does is the system actually captures that comment for you, number one, and it also shows you the value when you had actually entered the comment. So if later on the number has changed, you don't have to remember what was the number at the time when you entered that particular comment. So it actually stores that information to you, so the comment becomes more relevant and it gives context to it. Then it likewise provides you an information as to who made that comment and at what time it was made. So when the user, the other user comes in, he checks it, he can actually see all that information that he requires in order to give the explanation for the question that has been asked. So that way, it actually caters for the auditability of the model as well, where anything that you enter, it tracks down that information, and then you can always revert back and check what was it down the line that you wanted to inquire about. So that's more about comments. So you can right click, and then if you want to see the comments, it's just as simple as right click and then go into comments, and it will show you all the list of the comments. So you can add multiple comments onto it, and that becomes your narrative for that particular cell. The other thing that I want to quickly show here is if I just right click on this one, I want to see, for example, the breakup of this particular amount, right? So what we are looking at is a very summarized data. I want to go to the bottom of it and then see what is the data behind it that is actually making up this particular value. To do that, I can simply right click on that cell and then select trace cell. And what this does is it's now going to give me a very logical breakdown of how that figure has been made up of. So here you can see that this particular figure is made up of actual and the budget. So this is what the budget value is, and here is the actual, and variance of that is what you actually see here. And if I expand on the budget and see how this data is further broken down into, so you can see, so these are the different products that's making up this particular value. And then obviously you can see what was the calculation that was applied that has given me this particular number. So here you can see that the calculation for sales is price times volume. Now say you want to go to a further granular level and see what is it that is the price, and what is it that's the unit that's making up that particular amount. So here you can see that the price is 20,000, and that's again coming from another cube called price cube, and this 10 is the units that has been popped up by some other user. So this is the data entry, and this is the calculated value. So this way you can actually go to the lowest level and be able to trace your value to the lowest level. So now say what I'm going to do here is, after this I'm just going to delete this, and now I want to create a gross margin by state and see the data in the maps visualization. All right, so for that I'm going to just type view and type in income statement, for example. All right, so as soon as I do that, now it has presented me with all the views which has the income statement against it. So right now, you can see the list of the views down here. For now, I'm just going to select this view over here. So what this view actually shows is my gross revenue, or rather gross margin by different states. So I'm just going to use this, and then it's just going to pull up over here. What I'm going to alternatively do is I'm just going to pull up another view called income statement by region, for example. So this is another view that is already stored in the system. So I'm just going to pull up this view, and it gets placed side by side. So now these two views are from the same cube. The only difference is the way it has been laid out. So one has got the region on the columns, whereas the other has got the regions on the title. Now I want to create a map visualization out of this view. For doing that, I'm just going to click at that arrow, and then there is an option called change visualization. So right now what we are seeing is an exploration view of our data. I want to change it to maps visualization. As soon as I do that, I'm presented with all different visualizations, and map is just one of them. I'm just going to click at that, and now I can see my data in a map visualization. Now let's try and do the same thing into the other in this other view. So if I just go and click at that, click change visualization, now you would notice that that particular visualization is no more available in this list. Now you might wonder why this is the case. That is because we only have the region as Massachusetts in our view. So having a map visualization in here would make no sense, because that's just gonna show up a dot in our map, which gives no real which gives no real information behind that. So the system is actually intelligent enough to only bring me the views that are relevant to my data set. So that way you don't have to worry about what visualizations that you can apply and whatnot. It just only gives you the ones that are relevant. So now that's with regards to that, to the planning analytics workspace. Now what I'm going to quickly show you is how you can access the data in Planning Analytics for Excel, and also demonstrate to you the seamless integration of Planning Analytics for Excel, which is also known as PAX, with Planning Analytics Workspace, which is what we have just looked at. So the tasks can be interoperated between the two. So that's what I'm going to do now. So to do that, I'm just going to open the Planning Analytics for Excel. So if I just minimize that, so just going to double click on that, and just go in here. Just going to log in quickly. All right, now here I'm going to open a view called revenue in Revenue Cube. So if I just go in here, revenue, and within this views, we have got a view called revenue. And I want to show you the sandbox data that we entered in the Planning Analytics workspace, and we access it over here. So if I just right click over here on that particular view, open in viewer, right? In here, you remember we have created a sandbox called Octane Sandbox earlier in the demo. If I just click on that, all right, now this is where we can actually see the same data which was in workspace in the packs. So this way you can actually access the data between the two platforms, and any change that you make in here will again be able to access in the Planning Analytics workspace. So it communicates and interoperates very well and seamlessly. So now let's say I go back to my original view, and now I want to pull this data into Excel. So I can just simply click at this option, and these are different reporting options that we have. I'm not gonna go into the details of what all different reporting options that we can select here. I'm just gonna select, for the sake of the time, just gonna select this exploration view. And as soon as I do that, my data from this cube viewer has now appeared in my Excel. All right, now obviously you can collapse, you can expand, and do all kind of Excel, Excel functionalities into this particular set of data. But what I want to in particular show you is drill through. So for example, here for retail, this is what my volume is, all right, 6,588. Now I want to see the breakup of this 7,588 by different products. So what I can do is I can quickly select a drill through option over here. And now what it's gonna do is it's gonna present to me the data that it was 6,588 by different products and product categories. So this way I can just quickly, create this drill through processes and be able to see the granular level of data. Then the other thing that I can do here is, say for example, this is my view. So I've created this particular report, and I want to now access this in the workspace. So now I want to show how you can leverage the Planning Analytics for Excel and access the data in the workspace. So to do that, what I'm going to do here is, so say this is my view. I'm just going to save my view to the content store, and I'm just going to give it a new as PAX view as an example. I'm just going to put it into my personal folder, and I click save. Now if I go back to Planning Analytics workspace and go back to welcome page, all right, and then users, PM. All right, now this is where, if you remember, this is the view that we created in PAX, and if I open it in here, I can actually access the same view in the workspace as well. So that's how, it seamlessly operates within each other. And I think I'll just stop it there. And with that, I would like to conclude my demo and open up for the question and answer session. But before even that, I would just like to give a disclaimer. After this demo, you will be prompted with a feedback pop-up. So I would really appreciate if you could take some time out to fill it out, so we can understand where the improvement areas are that we need to work on and focus on for our future webinars. So I appreciate that, and thank you for your time. So now we can open up for the question and answers. Yeah, Rajesh, over to you now.
Hey, thanks, Amin. Yeah. Any questions? Anyone? Okay. Okay. So one question is from Ramanathan Muthu that that why we need both POW and PEX. So so basically, this Planning Analytics workspace, it has, it's a web-based, and it has the, different capabilities of dashboarding and reporting and all. So which has the mapping capabilities. So that's, it's totally a different one. And if you want to, basically, we have a, habit of, using Excel. So that's why, the PAX is introduced, most of the, finance user has the, access. So that's why, like, PAX is introduced to that, the people who want to, input their number via Excel only. So you can input your number, and you can put in whatever, like, you want to contribute it. So you can contribute it via Excel as well. So that's why we have that's why, it's PAX is introduced, and Workspace is totally a web-based tool. And Saurabh asked one question. That can I integrate it to other tools? Yes, Saurabh, yes, it can be integrated to other tools as well, but you have to specify, like, you said, in your company, if you specify the tool name, so definitely we can answer you. Maybe you can write back to us, like, with the tools list, which you want to integrate. Definitely we'll get back to you on that, which tools you are using, and that it can be, Planning Analytics can integrate with the tools. So yes, we can answer that after this call. And Kiran Kumar, he asked, like, is it user-based licensing? Yes, it is user-based licensing. So it has like, per user license you have to buy. Okay. And apart from these, any other questions?
So, Rajesh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Videsh.
Yeah, I was just Videsh here, guys. So I just wanted to add on to what Rajesh just mentioned on the question of user-based licensing from Mr. Kiran Kumar. So IBM Planning Analytics is available both on cloud and on-premise. So and also in a hybrid environment, which basically means if a client doesn't want to take some applications on cloud, can also retain some on premise. Now, when the solution is on premise, you could license it both user-based as well as server-based, which would mean in certain cases, depending on the licensing metric, unlimited users, but limited by the core capacity. But when it comes to cloud, the software as a service that IBM offers, it is user-based licensing. And then within that license, you can also, for an enterprise customer who is, wants privacy, could also go for bare metal servers or dedicated instances. Yes, Rajesh, go on. Next question, please.
Okay, so am I audible? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So next is like how differences PAX is from perspective. Ramanathan is asking for that, and is there any cost differences? So as far as PAX and perspectives, perspective was used earlier. Now it has been, this the latest version is PAX. It's seamless, and yes, for PAX, like, Videsh, can you just just be with me, like, any cost? I don't think PAX has a cost.
No,
There's no
so you're
additional
right.
cost for PAX, right?
Correct. So how it works is, and so all this while, this erstwhile called TM1, this TM1 is still the heart of the solution. But the way these new capabilities are in package, packs, if you are as a customer who is existingly using TM1 and are now moving to planning analytics, for you, when you upgrade, you have an access If you don't, you are not on a, let's say you're on a different licensing option because historically IBM has had multiple licensing options, then you would have to trade up to workspace licensing, wherein you get packs as an access. When you buy this on cloud, there is no, it is all out of the box. So you don't have to purchase, packs or perspective separately. It's all bundled in the solution. And obviously, so it depends on, if you are an existing user, as I said, we will have to obviously get in touch with you separately and look at your existing entitlements of the software, and then answer this. I think then it would be more meaningful for us to answer. But yes, all those options are available. But standalone packs or perspective, there is no such thing as additional cost. I think next question that you can take is from Kunal, Rajesh, and Amin. It says, can you elaborate on the level of access and restriction that we can have?
So basically, in Planning Analytics, we can restrict the use by user, and even if they want, we can restrict. So basically, Kunal, what's like we have all level of restriction. Like from the application level, we can say there are a number of level, which is one is user. Then we have the cubes level. Cube is it's a it's a multi-dimensional cube we have, so we can have cube level access, and so it's technicality wise we have the element level access we can restrict. So an element in the sense of one one node, I would say. So if there is one cell, we can restrict to that till that level. So that, yes, it's a more secured tool, and we have all level of access from the user till the cell level access we can restrict. So that's
I think.
Thanks, Rajesh. And if I can just reiterate what just Rajesh said. So yeah, it is very fair to say that you can restrict the access back to the cell level, which is the lowest level, I assume. And then there are different levels of access that you can apply. So you can start off with the admin access, who is like the administrator of the whole model. He'll have access to end-to-end everything. Then you have got the read access. The user can be assigned as a read user, so you will only have read access to the entire model. Then you have got the data or the write access, where the user will be then be able to write the data back into the system. Then you have the security admin, who will be able to only update the security of the model, so he won't be able to see the data. Then you have the data admin, who will only be able to view the data and do so forth. So these are the different categories of security that you can apply on top of your model, and this can be interchanged in the sense that a user can be a read user for one cube and be a write user to other cube. So it can be mixed and matched. So it's not just one or all. It can be mixed combination as well. Yeah.
Okay. The next is yeah.
Yes, Rajesh. So next question is again from Kiran on cloud. This is offered under SaaS. Yes. So I think we addressed that. On cloud, it is offered as software as a service, which basically means right up to the application level, all the SLAs are managed by IBM, so much so that they claim 99.9% uptimes. And in any given month, if your uptimes were under it, IBM, as a part of the standard contracts, passes credit to the client. So yes, it is software as a service and bound by an SLA. The next one is from Mr. Ramanathan. Is asking, these tools can be integrated to Python or Jupyter Notebook like Cognos Analytics. So I will let Rajesh and Amin to take this and elaborate, but Cognos Analytics, definitely yes. So since it's part of the same family with IBM, especially with Cognos Analytics, there is a seamless integration because, as I said, they come from the same company. As far as Python, Jupyter Notebooks are concerned, the open source tools, it depends on what's your use case. We ourselves have used Python to, for example, if you have to pick up data from a database which doesn't have a ready-made connector, we have written Python codes to pick the data and then push the data into TM1. So that kind of integration can be done and is available. Do you want to add anything on that, Rajesh? I mean,
Yeah, Bidesh. So yeah, I would agree to what you've just all said, and the planning analytics does integrate with Python. There are a lot of use cases where people have extended the planning analytics more than what it actually offers using the languages such as Python. And in addition to that, I would also say that you can also connect or use the APIs to connect and pull the data from different sources. So it doesn't have the connectivity just to the Python, but you can even use the OData APIs and do all different sorts of things that otherwise is not possible within the out of the box platform.
right, guys. So, there's a lot of questions coming in. So, I'm also cognizant of the fact we are on top of the hour. We've got about 4 minutes to go. So we've got about 4 questions to answer. So we'll restrict it to that. What we will do definitely is after this, reach out to all the, attendees, and we'll be taking in queries separately with all of you. So the next question is from Pinkesh. Mr. Pinkesh is asking, can we integrate PAW and PACS with repository version control? Rajesh, I mean.
Yeah, the small answer to that one is yes, it is possible to do that. And in fact, I've just demonstrated to you how you can, in fact, integrate the views and access it between PATS and PAW. So IBM Planning Analytics workspace has also got content store, something called content store, and where you save it, it will be able to, it allows the PATS to access that particular set of data. So yeah, I hope that answers.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. Pradeep Batra, and he's asking, hi, is it a BI like Tableau? Yes and no. So what you saw, and as Amin was mentioning in the session before it began, that what we are showing, it may look almost like a BI, so which is the power of the tool, because it is that much intuitive, but believe me, everything is right back. So typically what a business intelligence tool like a Tableau would do is represent what has happened. This is a tool which basically helps you crunch numbers, whether it's for planning, budgeting, forecasting, and all of those use cases wherein you have to do a lot of iterations and you necessarily need write back capability, which none of the business intelligence or reporting tools like Tableau have. So like for like comparison from a Tableau, from a, let's say an IBM standpoint would be Cognos Analytics. Planning analytics, which is specifically, as the name suggests, it addresses the enterprise performance management industry, which basically cuts across office of finance to sales to marketing to operations, anything with numbers, anything that needs crunching, and which is iterative, is where this solution fits in. It is not a Tableau. What we do definitely for our clients is, as an outcome of this, if the client wants to look at in a pixel perfect reporting with all the colors of the company and the way they want to look at it, yes, TM1 could be a source for solutions like Tableau, basis which then you can report. And as a matter of fact, we as Octane, we already have a Tableau ready-made connector, which so it gives you a seamless integration as a Cognos Analytics, as I just mentioned, would enjoy. You can pick up data from TM1 and just push it back to Tableau for seamless reporting. So yes, I hope that answers the question. The next one from Mr. Raju, what will be reliability or transparency about users? I'm not sure I get that. I mean, Rajesh?
Sorry, yeah, maybe Raj, if you can elaborate a little bit on that question, we'll be able to answer that.
Yeah, actually, we don't have time right now, so maybe we'll have to. We are on the hour map. Last question, Mr. Rajvinder Sindhu, can we integrate with SAP? Yes, sir, definitely. There are different ways of doing it. You could do it basic, simple CSV. You could have, pre-built connectors. There are also, ODBC connectors which you could do. So it all depends on the level of complexity, the level of integration that you want with SAP. We ourselves have delivered at least, top of my mind, recall about 8 or 9 such projects wherein SAP was the ERP, and we've done a seamless integration. But what we would love to do is get back to you, Mr. Sindhu, and take this up some other time, maybe just after the call. Rajesh, over to you. It's 1 hour, beyond 1 hour, so I guess it's time for us to close the session.
Okay, so maybe a few questions left, so definitely we'll answer. We'll connect you guys like Kiran, Raju, and so we'll connect you guys, and we'll answer your questions. So whatever left over. So yes, and thanks for joining the webinar. I mean, you want to say something after this?
Thanks again, everyone, for taking our time to attend the webinar. And just last one thing, like I mentioned earlier, if you can kindly provide your feedback, that will be very valuable to us. So I would appreciate some time off you to provide us some of the feedback after this. So you will be prompted out with the pop-up, so you can always provide the feedback.
Thank you all.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.